Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is a little bit of a different video that I'm filming. If you are new here, hi, my name is Lainey. Most of the time I film lots of weekly vlogs because I am a nurse practitioner, but I am also a huge bookworm and I really want to incorporate more reading videos into my channel. So yes, I know if you're a returning subscriber, this is very different than my usual content, but I really wanted to hop on this train of recommending really just making like a fall TBR video. All these books that I'm going to mention are books that are on my current TBR, and it's pretty ambitious, I have to say. I have about 25 books on the list, and that includes physical books that I have and a bunch of Kindle Unlimited recommendations, as well as just books that I need to go by myself. But I wanted to, oh, here's Oliver. He wanted to say hello. I really wanted to make this video. I think it'd be so much fun. I just love talking about books and I love watching these kinds of videos. So I wanted to kind of make my little space on this place of YouTube to talk about my very ambitious fall TBR. So I'm gonna break these up into thriller, horror, and then I will go into fantasy, and then I will go into romance slash like dark romance, you know, spooky romance, that kind of stuff, just kind of talk about it all in one. So I would say go ahead and grab your beverage of choice. I have my cute little witchy moon mug right here. I've got some coffee in it right now. So grab yourself a tea, a coffee, a glass of wine, whatever your drink of choice is, and let's get started. First up is the thriller and horror category, and the first book I have on my TBR is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. So I've read a couple of books by Riley Sager. I have read Lock Every Door, and I also read The House Across the Lake, and I gave both of those 4 stars. I really enjoyed them, and I had this book on my shelf for a while, but I just have not picked it up. I've actually bought this, I think, earlier this year, and so I just did not want to read it until spooky season. So now that it's getting into fall, I really want to get into it. I think it's about like a woman who goes back to her family house that's haunted, but it's like she thinks that her parents kind of made up the story of their house being haunted to get famous, when really like things are actually spooky in that house. I think is kind of the premise of this book. I did actually try to pick it up, you know, back in the summertime, and I was like, okay, no, I cannot read this in summer. I need to wait till the fall to read this. But yes, book number 1, Home Before Dark. Okay, book number 2 I'm recommending is Incidents Around the House by Josh Malerman. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that, but I had this recommended to me on Goodreads actually, and I saw some recommendations on some other fellow gals YouTube recommendations, and apparently it's a new release, first of all, and I guess it's like everyone's saying that they can read horror books, but they've never read a horror book that spooked them out as much as this one. So it's about this like little girl, and there is like a haunting, and it's kind of told from her perspective, where she's living with her mom and her dad, and then there's an entity and she calls it the other mommy. And that just like it gives you the heebie-jeebies just like even saying that out loud, talking to you guys about that. So yeah, I think that's gonna be really great to read, and I'm wanting to get spooked out. Next to recommend is Ask for Andrea, and it's by Noelle Ely, I think, and it's on Kindle Unlimited. And this one is about this serial killer who targets girls to kill, but I guess there is this like some of the girls that he's killed are ghosts, and they come about again and help prevent further killings. I'm not really kind of sure. I kind of like to go into books kind of somewhat blind and not watch too much about it, because I kind of want to be surprised and shocked, but everyone said it's super good. And it's on Kindle Unlimited, and I've been loving reading on my Kindle recently, so I'm excited to read that. Next up is also on Kindle Unlimited. It's called Night Will Find You by Julie Hebert, and it's about this woman who is a psychic, and I guess she had this weird premonition in the past that helped kind of save this child, and then that child grew up to be in the police force, and so they want to get her back in to help kind of solve a case. That's kind of the premise of the story that I've kind of heard, but it has really good ratings on Goodreads, and it's on Kindle Unlimited. So Next up is Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter, and it's also on Kindle Unlimited. I did not know it was on Kindle Unlimited actually, but I have seen a bunch of people recommend this book, but I have heard that you must research trigger warnings because there is a bunch of graphic content in the book. So I have not personally looked to see what exactly is going to be in it, but I don't really get triggered by things personally. So I really don't want to read them sometimes to not get spoiled. But yeah, I've heard that it can be really dark at times, but it's like an overall amazing, like good for her type story. So I'm excited to read it. Next up is The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden, and this one is going to be coming out in October, I believe, so I'll for sure try to pick it up then. I'm not sure if it's going to be on Kindle Unlimited or not, but I'm hoping that it is, because most of her books are on there, and I've read all of the Housemaids so far, the first one, second, and third, and I really enjoyed all of them, and I also read Never Lie by her as well, which I really, really liked. And I'll just read the first line of the synopsis of this book, and that's all. I'll leave it to you for that. It says, she's looking for the perfect man, he's looking for the perfect victim. So take with that what you will. Next recommendation is Deadly Occupants by Mads Rafferty, and I actually recently discovered her on YouTube, and she wrote this book and it's being released on Kindle Unlimited, so I'm super excited to read it. And the way she's marketing it is like Pretty Little Liars meets Paranormal Activity, so I was like, sign me up, that sounds awesome. So I'm not going to read much more about it. I just added it to my Goodreads, and then once it comes out on Kindle Unlimited, I will read it. But yeah, so PLL meets Paranormal Activity, I'm in. Quick little coffee break, but I'm going to hop into fantasy next. Okay, first up with fantasy is, for me to finish these tomes, The Blood and Ash and the Flesh and Fire series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Yes, here they all are, and it irks me that this book, look at it, it's much more wider than the rest of them. That irks me. I don't know why it's like that, but maybe I'll find a copy where it'll all match. But anyways, so I have read majority of the Blood and Ash series. So I've read Blood and Ash, Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, Crown of Gilded Bones, and War of Two Queens. But I have not dove into the Flesh and Fire series. And I have heard that people enjoyed the Flesh and Fire series a lot more than Blood and Ash. And my mom has read all of these, and I got her into reading, and she told me that I'm going to love these books. So it's fun that we get to bond over reading fantasy books. She's currently reading Throne of Glass right now, and she's on Kingdom of Ash, so RIP to her. But anyways, yeah, so I need to tackle all these tomes here, and I'm super, super excited about it. But I think I'm going to get them on Kindle, just because I feel like it's not as intimidating when reading on a Kindle whenever these books are so long. And I think it's like $12 to get the Kindle book with the audiobook. That way I can kind of go back and forth if I'm out and about or doing chores or whatever. I can listen to it and not just read, because they're like, 700-page books. So, but I do want to finish this series, and I'm super excited about it. So I have A Soul of Ash and Blood. I believe this is the last book in the Blood and Ash. I'm not sure if it's coming out with any more or not, but this is the most recent one that came out. And I think it's from the first Blood and Ash from, well, I guess if you haven't read the books, the male character in the first book, it's from his perspective. So this would be super, super exciting to read. And then I have all the books of Flesh and Fire. So it's A Shadow in the Ember, A Fire in the Flesh, A Light in the Flame, and then Born of Blood and Ash. And so Born of Blood and Ash literally recently just came out. So I'm very, very excited, and my mom is like, you have to read these. I cannot wait to talk to you about them. So I am prioritizing these in my fantasy for fall reading. Next up is the Shepherd King duology by Rachel Gillig, and it is One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns. And I love it's a duology, so it's already done, and it's not as intimidating as reading like a whole entire like giant fantasy series, and it's also on Kindle Unlimited. So I really want to dive into that. I've heard amazing things. I've heard the world is awesome, the magic is amazing. I don't really want to read more into that. That's kind of all I want to know going into it, but just know that both of them are on Kindle Unlimited, and I've heard amazing things about them. Okay, the next book on my TBR is The Hollow Heathens by Nicole Fiorina. So I don't really know much about this book. I just know that a lot of the book girlies are reading it right now, and it's on Kindle Unlimited, and they've been saying it's amazing. They can't stop raving about it. And it's like, the magic is good. I don't know if witches are in it or not, but it just says, a forbidden, timeless, and haunting love story. Once upon a time, there lived a girl named Fallon who was taken far away from home shortly after she was born. She has some weird superstitions. Some years later, she returns to Weeping Hollow, a town she's only heard of. Middle of the night, I don't even know, middle of the night, last, okay, blah, blah, blah. They called the nosy mortician a freak show, a ghastly thing. They said I couldn't go near her. Still, there was this aching pull to Fallon Grimaldi that I couldn't escape, a nostalgic pull as if we'd been here before. And then about this mysterious boy who had a curse centuries old as time. I don't really know. It doesn't really make sense on the, you know, the synopsis, but like Heather McLeary has read it, and you know, the raven-haired reader. I don't know her name, but I just know she's the raven-haired reader, and I love her videos. I probably should know what her name is. And I think Amy Rossum has also read this book. So anyways, I'm just basing it off of their reviews that they loved it, 4 stars or more. I don't want to go more into it. I think it's not too long of a book. Just kidding. Yeah, it's 500 pages. Okay. Anyways, well, I'm still going to read it, or at least it's on my TBR. So we'll see how that goes. All right, another fantasy read that I want to read is Quicksilver by Callie Hart, and I'm sure you recognize the cover. It's all over everywhere right now, all over BookTube. Everyone's reading it. It's on Kindle Unlimited. It has 4.46 stars on Goodreads with like over 40,000 ratings, so that's pretty good, I have to say. But the first few lines says, "Do not touch the sword, do not turn the key, do not open the gate." Talking about this land of being in a desert. I don't really know. I don't want to know anymore. Like I said, I like going into books blind, but I'm going based on recommendations by other the book girlies that Quicksilver is on the list. So add it to your list too. Okay, for the final category, which is romance, I have a lot of these books actually physically with me, which is nice. This is like my favorite time to read like spooky, witchy romances. I just love a good witchy book. And yeah, so I cannot wait to dive into that. I've already started like dabbling into it now, even though it's only August, but once September 1 hits, I'm diving full throttle. So first recommendation I have is Go Hex Yourself by Jessica Clare. This is about a girl who finds an ad in the paper for basically working as a familiar for a witch. And then it's the story of her being the familiar for said witch, and then there's this nephew that's in the story that's like, you know, handsome and broody and, you know, grumpy sunshine type situation. But it's like she is a normal human who has no idea, you know, what that magic is actually real. And then she realizes, oh my gosh, it is real. I've applied for a job as a familiar for a witch. What the heck? So I'm super excited to read this. I've heard that it can be super, super spicy at times too, and I love me a spicy book. So yeah, I'm pumped to get into this one. Next up is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. I'm pumped for this one too. I've literally had this book like since last year. I don't know why I didn't read it, but basically it's about this girl who is a witch and she fakes being a witch online. So she basically has like a YouTube channel or some sort of like social media platform where she's acting like a witch. But she gets this weird letter in the mail asking her to come basically be a witch tutor for 3 young witches at this house. And she like basically just like goes on the journey of taking along that offer, going to live at this house, gonna teach these witches how to be witches, and then just story kind of goes from there. So it sounds super cute and cozy. I'm pumped. I actually have started this on Audible already, and the narrator is British, and I believe this is and this is set in Britain because it talks about like her living in Brighton and that kind of stuff, but the narrator being British and like just listening to them talk is just so cozy and nice. So yeah, I'm pumped about this. I'm ready for the audiobook. It's gonna be great. Next is Her Soul to Take by Harley the Rose. So this is dabbling into the dark romance, and I have heard amazing things. Larry Reese has read this book, and she made her mom read this book, and she said it was amazing, dark, smutty, amazing. And it's on Kindle Unlimited, and I've just been wanting to dive into this since like last summer whenever I watched her do like a reading vlog of like dark romances. And it's been on my list for a while. Like I said, I just have not pulled the trigger, but I think there's like 3 books in the series. Her Soul to Take and like something of the witch and then something of else, whatever. But they're long books on Kindle Unlimited, but they're dark romance, spicy, you know, demonic like a good demon, like a hot demon, not like demonic, you know what I mean? But yeah, so I'm pumped to get into that one. And like I said, I love me a smutty book. Okay, the next two on here is Charming the Devil and Charming as Hell by Sarah Blue. So let me put you on to something. I read Charming Your Dad, which is the first book of this little like trilogy or like, you know, companion novel type books by Sarah Blue last fall. And oh my gosh, it's all on Kindle Unlimited, and that one was amazing. So basically that one is like witches, demons, and, you know, terrible ex-boyfriend, so I'm gonna basically bang your dad. That's the premise of the story, Charming Your Dad. But it's actually a lot more than that. There's actually a plot line. There's really, really good backstories, amazing, amazing smutty scenes. So if you love a good smutty book and add into that romance, add into that it's a witchy book for the fall, it's a perfect recipe for all of that. Oh, Oliver wants to say yes, read it. So yeah, I have the next two in that series, Charming the Devil and then Charming as Hell, to read, and I cannot wait to get into those. Like, I am assuming they're gonna be 5 stars, hopefully so. But yeah, so I would say if you are interested in doing those books, I would obviously start with the first one, which is Charming Your Dad by Sarah Blue. Okay, the next one I want to read is Unfurl by Elodie Hart, and this one is like, I think it's giving, like, they say like if you're a fan of Praise, you like this book. I haven't personally read Praise, but it's like an age gap romance with like sex clubs and that kind of stuff, and so I was like, sign me up. So that's all I really know, and it's on Kindle Unlimited. So I, you know, whenever I need like a good palate cleanser in between like a fantasy book or something like that, or a romance, and I want just like pure filthy smut, that's probably what I'm gonna get into. Alrighty, piggybacking off of pure, you know, filthy smut, we're gonna go into a little lighthearted daydream by Hannah Grace. So I've read all the books by Hannah Grace so far, Icebreaker and Wildfire. Icebreaker was 5 stars for me, and Wildfire was like a 4 stars. Wildfire kind of dragged on for me, to be honest. Took me a while to kind of get through it, especially because Icebreaker was just like so freaking good, you know? But I'm pumped for this one because it's Henry's story. So if you've read the books, you know who Henry is. And like the cover is just so good. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so pumped. But yeah, so basically Henry, you know, goes into being the captain of the hockey team. You know that from Icebreaker and reading everything else. So it's the story of him and then a girl named Hallie. And I think it's like classmates, and like she wants to tutor him and she wants to get out of her comfort zone, and then things kind of go from there. So hopefully this one's good. Like I said, Wildfire was good, but it just kind of dragged on for a bit. But I love Henry, so hopefully I will love this. Next up is Bride by Ali Hazelwood, and this has been like the rage since this came out. Like, I mean, this is like a vampire paranormal romance, and like Ali Hazelwood writes like fluffy STEM books, and only read the Love Hypothesis? Yeah, The Love Hypothesis. The only book that I've read by her. So I have not read anything else, but I'm pumped to get into this one. This just like looks like a fall spooky book to read, obviously. But I've heard there's some like weird smut in here with like, because there's werewolves involved. I'm not really sure. I'm not gonna research. I will dive in and I will go from there. But yeah, vampire, werewolf, smut, sign me up. Okay, next one I'm pumped to get into is Leather and Lark by Bryn Weaver. This is the second book in, I don't know what the name of the series is, but Butcher and Blackbird is the first book, and I read that this year, and oh my gosh, 5 stars, loved it. And so I'm pumped to get into this one, and I think the third book is called Sif and Sparrow, and that comes out in 2025, so I want to make sure that I read Leather and Lark sometime in the fall, winter time, hopefully in the fall. I'm thinking I'm gonna do it in the fall time. Just because like she wrote amazing banter, I mean amazing storyline. It's serial killers, romance, smutty, just like it's just so good. Like if you like that kind of stuff, like you will love Butcher and Blackbird. So I'm pumped to get into Leather and Lark. All right, last but not least of my fall TBR, that is very ambitious, is Two Wrongs Make a Right by Chloe Leese. So I have not heard anybody talk about this book actually. And I was perusing my local half-price books a few months ago when I found this book, and I love to go on Goodreads and kind of read reviews and ratings and that kind of stuff, but this was voted like one of the best books. I think it was like 2021 or something like that. And like Christina Lauren has a blurb on the back of this, Helen Huang has a blurb on the back of this, and so I love their writing. So I've heard really good things about this. It's like you know, fake dating, and there's like really, really good smut in here as well. I mean, just look at the cover. The cover just screams like fall red, the leaves in the background. She's, you know, super tatted, love it. Cute, you know, cute nerdy boy. So anyways, all I really know is that there's really good smut and it's fake dating, and yeah. So Christina Lauren says, absolute romantic perfection, sexy and smart and achingly sweet. So anyways, I'm pumped for this one. I think it's gonna be awesome, and I think it's only like 320 pages, so it's super, super short. I'll read it pretty fast. So yeah, that is all the books that I have on my fall TBR. Hopefully that gave you a bunch of good recommendations to add to your TBR, especially because some of these books are kind of like second or thirds in books that I've already read that I already know that I love so much. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's a lot different, like I said, from my normal content, but I want to like incorporate some book girly stuff. I want to join the booktube side of YouTube, and also just, you know, I want to spread the love. As much as I love making NP vlogs and lifestyle vlogs and that kind of stuff, I do want to dabble more into the bookish world. So feel free to comment and like if you like this kind of stuff. If you're a subscriber that's, you know, from the medical profession that watches my videos for the NP stuff, let me know if you like these kind of videos, or if you're kind of like, no. I was like, but I think for me personally, I'm going to love making these kind of cutesy TBR videos and just kind of like incorporating more books into my channel. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much if you're still here watching. I really appreciate you, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.